Welcome, everyone. So, in the last week, we talked about the four impact areas of digital transformation and its maturity in the corporate. So, we're going to touch all those four impact areas in each of subsequent episodes, like environmental impact, financial, operational efficiency, and the customer experience. So, we're going to touch all those four pillars in each episode and the most compelling questions per impact area we're going to address in the different areas of digital transformation. So, our today's episode is going to be focused about digital strategy development. So, what we're going to do today is we'll keep digital strategy in the center of our episode today, and we'll talk about all those four areas, how to align digital strategy with environmental impact, with operational efficiency, with financials and budgeting, and ultimately the customer experience. And today I also have Jazz with me, and she's gonna discuss with me all those four areas. Hi, Jazz. Welcome on board.
Thanks, it's good to be back. Really excited to speak on this episode as well.
Awesome. Sure. And then let's begin. So, the first question we have today on the environmental is, how does formulating a digital strategy contribute to sustainable practices within an organization? What's your take on it?
So I think we tend to go like really big, just to start when we start talking about environmental impact. But to me, I think for those that are still somewhat at the beginning of the journey, I think you can start small, like from even having, say, digital business cards instead of physical ones, or just having business cards printed on recycled paper and sustainable ink, which is what I have personally. And just being more conscious about the suppliers you use and ensure that they have their own sustainable practices to be more sustainable as well in the use of your physical office space, especially let's say if you are mainly a global or regional business and you work with a lot of remote teams and customers and they are located at different locations from you. So then you start to question as well, how much of a space do you actually need in reality. Yeah. So that's kind of how I would start. What about you?
Yeah, actually, yeah, that reminds me. The COVID impact a few years ago have trained us and opened up us to think like remote working is very much possible, or most jobs are doable remotely. Yeah, so locations and office expense that contributes a lot to the environmental effect, traffic, and all those things we don't even look at, obviously, uh, but they matter. Yeah, from my perspective, just I think digital governance, because we're talking digital strategy today, so governance is a very critical play here, and focus on that green element to the digital governance. Like when we talk about technology upgrade in our companies, and we should really prioritize vendors who are also focusing on the sustainable future, renewable energy. And there are easy ways to check. Not all vendors are prioritizing the environmental or planet health, like ESG score, ISO ratings, lead ratings, Energy Star standard products. I mean, um, the company I work with, Hitachi, has a product line that is Energy Star standard, and I know like our customers are really liking that, from not from the cost perspective, but also like we have a purpose in the planet. So yeah, so these are the things I think we should contribute to when looking for services, not just the business value and profits, but also the vendors who are prioritizing the environment. And on the other side, like the tech stack, which is always in the previous episode, also we discussed like we're always upgrading new services. We keep adding complexity to our stack. So utilizing those services to the optimum level, orchestration on those services to the cross teams level, collaborating internally, like that should also help reducing the utilization of the system behind those services, which will eventually help the environment. Yep. So anything else you have?
Yeah. I think it's a good point about the step and also looking at whether they are sustainable. I think we all know that there's this thing called like greenwashing, which could be seen as very real. Like sometimes people kind of fulfill certain checklists just to also get certain benefits, so that's not really authentic or genuine. And then of course, adding on to your point on the tech stack, right? I think that this is what I call tech bloat. To me, tech bloat is like just having too many unused tools, and it's not just bad for your overall technical debt, but actually it can pose a risk as well, especially if no one is keeping an eye on those unused tools anymore, and they're just piling up. And I think this is something that I noticed that's very common across legacy tech tools that are built ages ago, especially in some of the organizations that I've worked with and some of the clients now that I'm working together with as well. Yeah, so I think these are the things that people should be conscious of.
I second that point. Definitely technical debt, financial debt, all these systems are debts. Yep. And that brings me to the next question in our agenda today, which is totally about financial and cost element. And we'll go deep dive into this. Also, I have some aspects to talk about on this. So question is, what are the cost considerations when developing a comprehensive digital strategy? Um, so cost consideration. The profit and
Yes.
it matters.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it does. It does. But of course, at the beginning, they are kind of like quite happy, like shopping for the tools, right? They're given that budget, so it can go out of control quite quickly. I realize. But then if you go back to the less is more concept, I normally advise customers to look at what is the unresolved need currently, or that problem area that costing them the most effort and time that can be better utilized on doing actual work, more value adding work. And I realize they actually already have a solution, just that it might be owned by another business unit, for example, and they don't even know because the purchase decision was made directly by the unit. And it's this tool is then not accessible to them, or they don't know its full capabilities, and then they need some sort of a refresher training so that they know how to use it and what it's capable of. And then there's this build versus buy kind of a dilemma. And then the buy from one single vendor versus buy from multiple smaller vendors. Like, for example, you might think that it might be more cost time efficient in the shorter term to just buy your entire customer engagement and MarTech stack from one vendor to save you the hassle. But then you can run the risk of being too ingrained and indebted almost to their platform. And you will be at their mercy when they decide to, hike prices, or even worse, something happens, they run foul of regulations and kind of get impacted as well. So something to think about.
Yeah. Yeah. To your point, like about technical debt and the legacy systems. Yeah, I was reading an article the other day, and that says like if U.S. government, one of the U.S. governments actually was spending nearly $300 million to maintain just 10 legacy systems. Okay. See how crazy it is. Like so much money is going into legacy systems, and legacy systems are hard to maintain, like training issues, even like staff capability matters too. Like upgrading those to the more modern technologies is a key, not just from a cost saving purpose, but also increasing the efficiency of company. And to your point here, I like the idea less is more. Having complexity, keep adding on systems, more vendors, more tools, like they're hard to maintain and they are like hit in the neck. So consolidating tools, consolidating vendors can help here. and also investments. There is a lot of investment going on across the board on developing new tools. So consolidating those towards the growth, aligning what's coming up with the existing vendors, because all vendors have their roadmaps also. It's not just like if they don't have a tool today and in the next year, if we need something and we are only looking at the vendors that have those tools available today, like we need it 1 year later. So we can start conversations with our existing vendors, like if they have any roadmap to build some things like we need in the next year, can also help on the financial burden. And then we should also look at like a cost versus benefit ratio. Sometimes like if it is a little extra cost with a vendor who is environment friendly and gives the additional benefit overall, it makes more sense to go for it. Not always like the least expensive tool is the way to go, right? Sometimes it's a cost versus benefit we should look at. And I am pretty open sometimes on this. I believe and I follow a saying that I have in my mind all the time, like think holistic, think economics, think fast. I always follow this. Okay. That is in my rule book. Okay. So of course you should look at economics portion of your decisions, but the big picture preview is also something we should look at, right? We're not just one use case at a time. And that's the reason behind the most complex tech stack companies end up with, right? Because they just look at use case by use case basis, tools and services and vendors, right? So yeah, that's the thing. And also, as we were talking earlier, also like upgrading traditional systems definitely should be prioritized. Otherwise, like US government companies will also end up spending a lot of $1 million just to maintain those old systems. We should get rid of those as quickly as possible. Now we're talking in the AI world, and we shouldn't be looking at MS-DOS. I'm not sure if anyone is using it today, but but I know a lot of companies are still using those traditional database systems. We were listening 30 years ago, like FastPro and DBase or things like that. I know those companies that have those in the system still should be upgraded.
It's hard to change sometimes, right? Because it can be quite intimidating. The thought of just moving away completely, yeah. But then I think legacy tech, as I mentioned earlier, is very common for organizations that were once maybe early adopters of the tech themselves, or they were once very digital first. Ironically, right? But then what happens is they usually then start hiring tons of people to build, because they hope to be the first in the industry. They hope that they can showcase their innovative approach, and it worked very well back then. But then they will still have this age-old problem where, building their own is almost always a knowledge loss kind of risk, because if people will not stay on forever, that's the truth. So when you have talent loss, you will have knowledge loss if you don't have a proper knowledge retention kind of process even. And I've seen it so many times, like time and time again in all the organizations that I've been in so far. Like the bigger, the worse it is actually. And then now in my clients as well, sometimes the cost to retire them can be quite intimidating in the short term to the clients or the organizations. So then they rather put up with it. But ultimately, I think it's critical for them to look longer term. It's like this blister that will just become a serious injury if you don't do something about it.
Yeah. You are actually giving me answers before I ask questions. Like you're already talking knowledge loss, talent loss. Exactly the next question I'm getting to about training and things. So, but yeah, that's right. Yeah, this is really complex, and the long term and big picture aspects definitely to consider. And transformation is a double edged sword. But we have to find a good balance between cost and benefit and the longevity, along with other DX pillars in the digital strategy. It's a key. So, yeah, with this, I since you already started talking about the next topic, I would move to the next question, which is about the operational efficiency. So, it is in what ways can a well defined digital strategy streamline business operations? So, regarding operational efficiency, we want to discuss digital strategy alignment. What's your take here?
Yeah, so I think, strategy really should always come first before execution. So, I do notice that sometimes I myself, sometimes I'm guilty of that, right? I start thinking about all the exciting like execution formats before I think about a broader strategy, because a well-defined strategy really helps to keep our organization in check, to avoid tech bloat and having too much technical junk and technical debt, which is of course a risk to the organization, as mentioned before. This is especially true if you no longer have the right capabilities to fully maximize it or even maintain it. So then, having a well-defined digital strategy actually includes making sure that you have the right governance process in place, you have, the right checks in place, and you're doing regular checks as well on its viability. You need to have like downtime plans, you need to have a crisis management protocol and process, and then all the way to employee onboarding as well as an enablement process. You can't just put a tool there and expect all the new joiners to know how to use it, because all of these actually together combined actually contributes to a more efficient operation across your organization, not just for the tools themselves. So I think that is a strategy first.
True. Yeah. Aligning HR into this strategy and digital transformation roadmap, I think, is a good intersection of cross team collaboration here, because HR needs to understand like the new talent companies would need into the system. Like these days, like every company is already transformed into the digital world, but we are talking about the maturity at scale here, right? So technology is changing over time, and HR needs to understand from the hiring perspective also, like where the talent is and how to find it, right? And like that skilled workforce uh, is definitely required. And to your point, the previous question on the talent, and people keep changing, and we should keep that knowledge and talent across the board, so that like in in those situations when people leave and go, there is a minimum downtime into the system. So and people, not just from technical perspective about tools, like how to run it, but also a business understanding, why are we running those tools, why do we need that use case into the system, and why that is necessary for the business, and how it is contributing towards the profit and loss statement. It is sometimes like people don't really care about the end outcome of such little use cases, but if it is in the awareness of teams, that definitely makes big impact. People perspective changes with that. And like there are goals, like especially for the salespeople, make 50 calls, make and send 50 emails every day. Those are first. But like if the perspective changes towards just outcome focus, regardless of the number of calls and emails and efforts they put in, if it is like outcome driven operation, uh, that also helps to optimize the digital infrastructure and the business outcome of that, right? And training people, as we already discussed, change management is the key, like from tool to tool, from non-digital to digital, or from process changes also. Like resistance is the number one reason like changes don't get successful, and leadership onboarding is also necessary to sometimes support the changes to implement. the good change management system into the ecosystem and company culture is necessary to help with a successful operational implementation of the digital perspective. And then employee engagement. I would always emphasize employee engagement from top to bottom, regardless of the tool, regardless of the program or perspective. Like if employees are happy, everything works well. It's like a well-oiled machine when employees are happy and the attrition is low. So definitely listen to employees and understand their priorities, their strengths and weaknesses. And then lastly, I would say like automate as many processes as you can. Sorry, correction, as you should. It doesn't matter like you can or not, but what are really compelling processes that everyone should automate to reveal the good business value. Yeah. And data, data is the is the next gold. and and be more data driven. Okay, so if we can automate the processes to the point like it starts creating automated dashboards uh, for real time insights, it reduces a lot of manual efforts to create those weekly business reviews, quarterly business reviews, dashboards, and presentations. That takes a lot of time. I mean, these are like tasks in different teams. Like, okay, this week we have to send QBR report to the leadership, and the whole week is spent just on building those 10 slides. That's so much of effort, Lars. I don't like it. It should be automated to the point, like, and then add insights with like 2 hours or 1 hour critical review meeting, add insights, and then send it over. Collaboration between different teams for better visibility is required. That's like top notch, and like training to the areas where definitely digital transformation is aligned. All those digital tools in the ecosystem. I mean, people, as you said, like that's actually a very valid point. Keep coming back to my mind, like talent loss you mentioned. So people, we train people once, and if those are gone and new people join, we don't pay that much attention again to train the new force, right? So uh, we need to have that mechanism in place. Like every time there is a change in team, or even there is no change, just periodic touch base on the knowledge and talent is necessary to check, right? So that people are always updated, because tools keep upgrading, they keep changing. So we want to make sure our teams are also upgrading their knowledge on that. And then I would say streamline your workflows. There is a lot of cross team communication that keeps happening. One of the excuses I keep listening from the people I have worked with sometimes, like, okay, I sent an email, I'm waiting for the response. Okay. And that response kept waiting. Okay. 1 week down, 2 weeks down, we're still waiting for that response. But like from who we are waiting for response actually doesn't have that on his or her checklist or priorities list. Sometimes like that, there is a communication gap. If we have workflow in place, if we have SLAs in place for little things, that can also be a game changer in the streamlining of collaboration across teams. Last but not the least, reduce paperwork. Emails, digital digital storage of data, and like I have seen a lot of use of printer. I mean, even unnecessary printing of pages. That's where I feel like we are not very eco-friendly. All of us. I mean, I wouldn't blame few, but a lot of people are using printers a lot. Let's reduce that to minimum wherever possible, right? I would say it doesn't help in operational efficiency really, but definitely it's a problem at scale. I would like to bring up.
I think so. I mean, like there's still so much paperwork, so much email, so much PowerPoint slides that people are doing, and just so much data churning, right? that reminds me as well on why it's really important to have very defined roles actually for different users, different users across your organization to de-risk as well as de-conflict what each person is doing. Because I think some organizations make the mistake of trying to train and certify everybody and give them the same access, equip them the same way, regardless of their roles. Like, for example, I think if you just need basic level data analysis and interpretation as part of your core function, or some people might need more complex understanding if they are actually setting up the logic of how the data should be plugged and played, how they should be retrieved, how should they be maintained, and how they should run in terms of your decision flow. But then you will need to have different roles, different types of training, because ultimately you cannot expect everybody to be an expert practitioner. I don't want to name names here, but I was part of an organization that was so zealous or almost crazy, I guess, about this, that they made everybody go through some sort of advanced analytics, additional exam and certification, and everybody was so stressed. They spent so much time training and trying to pass and then repass the test. Can you imagine? And then they took time off their work even just to do that. So you can see that sometimes overtraining can also be have a downside to it. So I think it's all about understanding what you need and what are the different roles and what you need the different people to do, and then helping equip them the right way. Yeah. So that's kind of what I want to add to your point.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Like excess of everything is bad, is what we call it, right? So yeah, okay. So now let us move forward to our last question of today's episode, which is on the customer experience. So the folks who actually help fueling our businesses, who give money to the business. So how does a robust digital strategy enhance customer interactions and satisfaction? Any arguments here? Yes.
I think we are both like really customer centric people, right? I think that's our passion point. So that's yeah. It's like
Wait, what?
yeah, there's so much to talk about here. I mean, for starters, I think it can help simply just to make our communications more consistent and cohesive across all of our touch points, just by making sure that our channels are connected to each other. Like, for example, you look at a simple tool, like a social media content management tool. It allows you to actually post a consistent message and visual sticking to your brand identity across multiple social channels that you own all at once, with very minor tweaks in terms of the language and the tone. And you can schedule them ahead of time. You can track the response and the engagement that you're receiving after that. You can even do social community engagement and management from there if you want to, and work with your whoever is managing your customer support or call center to help track the community and engage the community from there. So then that way you're actually also working cohesively across the organization to help support the customer interaction.
Right. And how, like, internally companies digitally can help improve on that customer experience from strategic perspective is by personalizing that digital communication and engagement with the customers. So operationalizing good ecosystem, good data management, and good customer profiling within the digital tech stack is necessary here in order to achieve a mature, personalized digital experience. So I would say, again, like coming back to those same points over and over, orchestrating your tech stack and services well, train your staff, comply to accessibility here is the key as well, so that you you make wider audience friendly digital experience. People have different kind of priorities and preferences to use the digital channel. So just be careful about the accessibility aspect, which is very necessary in today's variety of user base. And then I'll come back to the employee experience part. Happy employees make customers happy. Like it's the key. Customers don't really uh, deal with the buildings. They deal with people, and people are employees here. And employees make customers satisfied and feel good, and then they make customers come back over and over. Equip your employees with a lot of training and knowledge about customers' behavior, and motivate them to uh, achieve on the customer expectations. And then you have customer engagement through digital channels, using the the holistic experience. Like, for example, if customer is talking to you on the phone, and then after talking to phone, they go to the website, and then on the website they're talking again on the live chat bot on the website. So it should communicate with the same branding, with the same approach, with the same tone and feelings to the customer. So, because branding here is the key, and that can only be possible if we are managing customer profiling and customer data in the holistic way. Okay, coming back to my agenda, like take holistic. Okay, here that holistic comes into picture from customer profiling as well, that we need to understand our customers very well within the technology, not just the behavior while talking to people. And in that case, having a good data policy, having a good customer profiling uh, is definitely required here. And good data governance model um, is necessary from privacy perspective and all. Okay, so there is there is a question I receive a lot of times when I'm talking to business leaders, specifically when they want to understand the good digital experience. Like, how does emotional intelligence be blended into the digital experience? So, because digital experience is so rules driven, so much of protocols driven, like user experience have some standards, and we implement that to talk to our customers through digital channels. How can we understand emotions of our customers and then still make sure they feel good when they are using it? So let's consider an example um, of a bad website. What makes that website bad? If you want to talk about like top three reason a website is bad, just say like it is slow, it ends up with an error on the browser, okay, and it's always uh, reloading the same page, regardless whatever link I click. See, we are answering our own questions here. Technology is one thing, but like there are metrics that we can measure on the time spent on the website and accuracy of the website, quality check on the website. When I say website, it means like digital properties. Okay, if it is a mobile app or even like a phone system and chatbot. So anything that is not working correctly can add to frustration. Okay, imagine from digital strategy perspective, um, open up a bonus content. If it is e-commerce, it could be a promo code. If it is a B2B, it can be a related asset that can be related to the account. Open up and show it surprisingly in front of the user. Um, that can make them happy. and engage them even more into the system, right? And like if there is a goal in the customer journey, like on e-commerce, if it is a checkout, on B2B, it is a lead gen, how many touch points uh, are in the path from the first visit to the conversion? All these things add on to that emotional aspect of the digital experience. So, I mean, it is not a magic really. It is also like another dimension of a rule book. Okay. How can, and this way we can add on that emotional aspect and measure it uh, towards the emotional aspect of the customer experience on digital properties. So that's how, I mean, these are the things we should add on to our digital strategy whenever we are talking about like digital maturity. And I want to end up my explanation on this is by saying that emotional intelligence is a game changer, not just completion of a digital solution. Customers who come back to your digital channels are actually the one who will make you successful. So yeah, have that emotional intelligence and customer experience on the priorities list to your digital strategy.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I am a big believer of empathy. I think empathy to me is the core of how we can connect better and put ourselves in the shoes of our customers. Because I think many a times we tend to forget, we get so ingrained into the company, into the product, that we forget that we should be a bit objective. We should see ourselves in the shoes of the customers, the lens of the customers. Like imagine if you are the customer going into this, are you really compelled to even go back and navigate, go back to the website, go back and to the company, go back to the brand, after experiencing something negative? Are you sure that you will even want to return if you have a better choice? I think that is the question, right? A better choice. There will always be a better choice for them. Um, so then a lot of brands end up being very dispensable in the eyes of customers. And if you don't have clear matrix in this regard to measure what should be defined as success for you, then you can get lost quite easily. And also, like, if you don't even have clear roadmap, well, in terms of the strategy to connect all your points and your measurements, then you will get lost very easily. It's like navigating a new place without a map. Everybody will get lost. And I also see that there are still disparity actually in the measurement of marketing intelligence data as well as customer intelligence data. There are still disparity in terms of the tracking and the measurement. I think the tools are not quite connected as well, or teams using these, they exist on different sides of the organization. One is like maybe the data analytics team and the sales team. One is the marketing team, and they don't always talk to each other. So then this actually will affect the organization's analysis, of what works best for customers in terms of experience and satisfaction. So I think still quite a lot of things to address overall. That's what I think.
Exactly. If you can't measure it, you cannot change it. So, yeah, rightly said. Measurement and tracking is the key. Yeah, I mean, we haven't talked much about it today. Maybe we'll keep it for another episode, like how to measure the various aspects of digital transformation. It's definitely a good topic to cover in some other episode. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the great insights. Well, and this wraps up today's podcast episode, and definitely a very healthy conversation about digital strategy development and the four areas we talked about. And yes, each episode we're going to address these four areas some way or the other aligned with digital transformation. So stay tuned. See you next time.
Thanks. I'm excited for the next podcast already. Where we'll address the I think leadership, if I'm not wrong. So yeah, to you guys.
Looking forward to it. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.